He walked into the courthouse like any other day, carrying nothing but proof of his service and honor. But before we dive in, take a moment. If this story already has your attention, hit that like button, share this video, and let me know in the comments what you think justice really means in moments like this. Your voice matters, and it could spark the conversation that changes someone's perspective. But the moment a white cop approached, the room froze and everything changed. Handcuffs clicked around his wrists, and whispers filled the courtroom. No one could believe what they were seeing, not even him. In that instant, the weight of centuries of injustice pressed down, and the world watched, waiting to see if he would break or turn the tables in a way no one expected. How do you fight when the system itself is against you? It was another routine morning for Marcus, a decorated Navy SEAL who had faced dangers most people couldn't even imagine. He moved through life with quiet confidence, respected by those who knew his service, but mostly invisible to the rest. That day, he stepped into the courthouse for what should have been a simple legal matter, just paperwork, just procedure. The air was tense, the kind that usually passes unnoticed in a room full of strangers. But as he approached the front desk, he felt eyes on him, judgmental, heavy, and cold. What should have been ordinary was about to unravel in a way no one saw coming. Marcus had never expected a day in court to feel like a battlefield. But the moment he stepped forward, it became clear this was no ordinary proceeding. The white cop stationed near the entrance didn't just glance at him, he studied him with a look that carried judgment and disbelief. Marcus's presence, his rank, his service, none of it seemed to matter. The officer's hand hovered near the cuffs, an unspoken warning that respect and honor weren't universal currencies. As he moved further into the courtroom, whispers spread like wildfire. People glanced at him, murmuring, some in disbelief, some in quiet disapproval. He could feel the room's energy shifting, a subtle tension that prickled the skin. Every step toward the front bench seemed heavier than the last, not because of his boots or his gear, but because of the weight of assumptions about who he was supposed to be versus who he really was. And just so you don't miss what happens next, stick with the story all the way through. The moment Marcus flips, the entire courtroom is coming, and it's something you'll want to see to the very end. Every second of this story matters. Then, the officer stepped forward. The motion was almost casual, but Marcus recognized the intent immediately. The cop reached for his handcuffs, and the metal glinted in the fluorescent lights. Time seemed to stretch. Every head in the courtroom turned, every whisper paused, and every heartbeat synced to the click of steel. Marcus froze, calm on the outside, but every nerve alive with shock and disbelief. How could this happen here, in a place meant to uphold justice? The prosecutor hesitated, caught between procedure and the growing unease in the room. Marcus felt eyes on him. Not all were hostile, but most were skeptical, some judgmental, and some curious. His military discipline kept him still, but inside, anger simmered. Not at the officer, not yet, but at the system, the assumptions, the blind prejudice that could reduce a decorated hero to a suspect with no evidence. No cause, only the color of his skin. Then came the murmured instructions. The judge's voice sharp, but unaware of the deeper tension. The cop tried to assert control, hand on the cuffs, eyes locked on Marcus. Every second stretched into eternity, the courtroom holding its collective breath. Marcus's mind raced, not with fear, not with panic, but with strategy. He had faced real threats on battlefields far away, threats that demanded split-second decisions and courage under fire. This was different, but no less intense. The injustice stung, but it also ignited something stronger, resolve. And just when it seemed the room had reached its breaking point, Marcus made a move, small, deliberate, and measured. A shift in posture, a look, a presence that immediately unsettled the officer and drew every gaze. The courtroom felt the change. But no one yet understood the full force of what was coming. Because in that moment, Marcus wasn't just defending himself, he was about to reveal a truth that would leave everyone questioning everything they thought they knew. The courtroom was silent. Every eye locked on Marcus as the cop's grip tightened on the handcuffs. Time slowed, each second stretching longer than the last. The whispers had faded, replaced by a tense, almost electric stillness. Marcus could feel the judgment pressing down on him, not from the officer alone, but from the weight of centuries of assumptions and prejudice staring back from every seat. Then, the officer stepped closer, his voice low, demanding, and controlled. Marcus didn't flinch, didn't react with anger or fear. He simply let the truth of who he was radiate from his presence. Every medal, every scar, every sacrifice that had been ignored by the room now mattered. The tension snapped as Marcus moved deliberately, showing a calm authority that no handcuffs could suppress. The courtroom froze, unsure of what they were witnessing, a man both restrained and utterly in control. The judge leaned forward, confused, questioning, trying to assert dominance. But Marcus's quiet strength was undeniable. The officer hesitated, uncertainty flashing across his face for the first time. Marcus wasn't just any man. They were dealing with someone who had faced real battles, who had stared death in the face countless times, and who would not be diminished by prejudice or fear. A subtle gesture, a shift in stance, and the room felt it. The power dynamic had flipped. Murmurs rose, the energy shifted, and suddenly, the injustice that seemed unstoppable moments ago felt fragile and vulnerable. Marcus had become the embodiment of resilience, forcing the room to confront their assumptions, their bias, and their ignorance. And just as the officer's authority wavered, Marcus locked eyes with the judge, and the courtroom collectively held its breath. In that suspended moment, everyone understood. This was more than a confrontation, it was a reckoning. What happened next would shatter expectations, expose truths, and leave the entire courtroom questioning everything they thought they knew. The handcuffs finally clicked open, but the weight of what had happened didn't leave Marcus. He walked out of the courtroom, every step a reminder that justice had not always been fair, and that recognition often came too late. The room had shifted, eyes now seeing him not as a suspect, but as a man who refused to be diminished by bias or fear. Yet the echoes of prejudice lingered, a reminder that moments of courage do not erase systemic injustice, they expose it. As Marcus stepped into the sunlight outside, he carried more than relief. He carried a statement, loud and undeniable. Respect is earned. Character cannot be defined by skin color, and courage can turn the tide in even the most unjust situations. But the story was bigger than him. It was a reflection of countless others who faced assumptions, dismissals, and discrimination daily. Every courtroom, every street, and every workplace carries these unseen battles. The incident became a turning point not just for Marcus, but for those who witnessed it. A moment of confrontation had transformed into a lesson on resilience, and the necessity of challenging bias wherever it hides. He left with dignity intact, his story a testament to the fact that courage and truth can force even the most skeptical eyes to see. And yet, the question remains, how many more Marcuses must face injustice before the world truly changes? Every act of bravery, every stand against bias, echoes farther than we realize. It challenges us, questions us, and compels us to look within. Are we willing to see clearly, act boldly, and refuse to let prejudice define our world? If this story moved you, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss powerful stories like this. And hit the bell to join a community that stands for justice, awareness, and courage.